Alrighty, hey folks, it's another Mindustry Hexors matchup. I'm Zanzibarzi. We're on the AA server. And yeah, here we go. This match is against Pointifix. You can see he's the current leader. I'm right behind him, both grandmasters. As of, this is for the month of September. Ranks reset every month. And yeah, here we go. Kicking it off. Standard build to start off. Power, daggers. You guys know the drill. And drogs. I've now edited my early power scheme so that it actually includes batteries, so I don't have to build those every time. Slight bonus to my APM in the very first moment. But I wasn't expecting too much out of this game. I mean, it's Pointifix, you know? It's just played over my lunch break. Just hanging out, catching a quick game, and was really not that happy to see Pointifix here, because that usually means a quick loss. And a tricky game for sure. So we'll see how it develops. I'm not super fast right here. Just kind of working through my early graphite builds. I like to make them perfect, catch as much coal as I possibly can. But that one actually takes a while to balance out that line. In fact, I'm not sure if it ever does. There might be too much coal for that many graphite factories, but there should be about 8 factories to tiny presses. It's just that the drills fill up, you know, as soon as you place them, they start to fill up, so it can look like it doesn't balance for a long time with these normal conveyors. Get some early titanium. Still pretty standard, already cleared a hex, that's very nice. Means I didn't get trapped. Of course, my very first daggers, I don't know if you saw it, but there was no one in the hex above me. They got all the way up to that hex and started shooting it, and then as soon as they started shooting it, someone arrived into the game, so inconvenient. But it's fine. I don't like to leave gaps in the coal like that, but you know, couldn't avoid it there. Didn't want to take the time to make it truly perfect. And this, I've started to do a lot more. I started to add junctions to just, so I can put stuff right next to a drill. Something you definitely want to avoid is polluted lines like that. Any coal in that line and it would be clogged next to the core. So a couple of junctions and you're good to go. But you still have to be, junctions are still risky. That means you can't place anything next to that set of junctions without placing even more junctions. So you can get a whole, you know, junction setup going in order to prevent your sand and coal from getting onto the lines. But yeah, here we go. 2 drills on thorium. That's what I like to do these days. Sometimes I just do 1 drill if I don't have enough thorium around, but if you just do 1, you want to find the second one pretty quick. Doing another early power. I usually like to have a silicon setup before I've put this early power. Kind of a little bit off on how I would typically like to play the very early game. Because I don't have enough graphite. Yeah, I should have done, I didn't do any graphite in this hex, which I usually would have done graphite in the first hex, graphite in the second hex. But it's fine. We'll switch to these air blasts with 5 graphite presses on them. They work pretty decently well. It's just slightly less than if it had a multi-press. And it doesn't use the power. It didn't cost any silicon or titanium to place. So it has some big advantages. And I'm placing a lot more daggers than I usually do. That's just, I want to clear everything around me pretty fast. My initial daggers are being kind of annoying and going straight to that opponent, so inconvenient. And here, this is presumptuous. I don't have the silicon. It's not completed. And I didn't have the graphite either. So we'll compromise and do another one with the tiny presses. But already starting to use quite a bit of power. Okay, we're good on power for just the moment. Now we can afford a big press. Silicon still the limiting resource at the moment. You can see I really like to build these pneumatic drill setups. It's because, you know, it's only taking 2 more spots of sand to put all those pneumatic drills down rather than because I could put a air blast and then 2 pneumatics with a water cooler, and that would be the same sand output as 8 pneumatics. Oh, and that power, that's just bad. I don't have enough room for it. I canceled the build there, but I'm out of power, so I need something. So yeah, I feel like I was pretty slow here in the early moments of this game. But we've got space, and we haven't been attacked. We're really fortunate with the starting position that, you know, Pointifix isn't right next to us. He's in the opposite corner. That always makes for an interesting match, because you both get to build up before reaching each other. And I think that serves me especially well sometimes. I don't know, it's a mixed bag. Some players I have trouble with in the early game, and some players it's harder to face them in the late game. That guy plays some duos. That's basically useless. That's really going to do nothing. I will place duos just occasionally if I need to take out a small power node. You know, cut someone's power, and I don't want to have to invest in anything large. But even that takes a while to destroy a tiny power node, so they're pretty useless. I'm going to use that air blast I placed down a while ago. Get it nice and watered up. And there's an issue with that dagger factory I don't notice for quite a while, but we'll see it soon enough, and eventually I'll get it working properly. But notice it's producing no silicon. Okay, keep the expansion rolling. More silicon, more graphite. I'm a little bit slow to make plastic in this one too. We got decent eco in that hex. Let's get ourselves protected, because I've seen a couple of dark blue daggers. Yep, just north of us. Defense just in time. I always try to avoid placing those unless I have to. So, you know, south of me, I haven't seen any daggers coming. I haven't placed any of those arcs. Because their drain on energy, that's probably the biggest cost of them, now that I have plenty of copper and lead. Often, if you're in a battle at the beginning, then, like I was in the, you might have seen the last video, copper and lead was a huge problem. But in this game, you won't notice it at all. So, there's, you know, big differences based on the game situation. Pointifix already assimilated somebody. And I'm under attack. I believe that attack is from the duos, but I can't be positive, because I don't see any daggers actually at my hexes. No snipe attempt this time. I think there was a slightly better place for that titanium, but Now we're getting to plastic. Like I said, late. It's already 9 minutes 30 seconds-ish. Pointifix, though, looks like he's invested in quite a few daggers to start with. That's good for me, being so far apart, because that investment means he's not ecoing quite as hard. I did place my big dagger build, well, I mean, mid-size, early dagger build. That's not doing anything right now. I don't think I fixed it yet. Yeah, definitely haven't fixed it yet. Now is when I'm like, why do I not have any daggers? I should have like 50 daggers. Well, 20, 30, yeah, 50 might be close enough. They each produce 4, and there's 15, 19 factories, so, you know, 58, 56. No, that's way off. 76. Ugh. Math, man. Alrighty, get this powered up. House power, 500. We're at the limit, but it's okay. And my spidey senses were tingling, telling me that Plasanium had just reached Trident level. And we're gonna hop in at just after 10 minutes. So, slightly slower than I like to be, but I think I have a bit more eco than I would if I rushed it a little bit harder. Granted, all my eco is a little bit less efficient than it would be if I had already gotten to the Trident level. But yeah, first thing I do after I get the Trident is place the big power. And then Metaglass, so that I don't forget it. I often forget it. Usually some batteries. Yep, there those go. Some more Drogs. If I had used Drogs more to capture a Hex, then I wouldn't have had to do that just then. But I knew that I'd kind of forgotten them earlier. And I saw them break a bridge, so we'll go ahead and make that bridge. Again, I'm overly reliant on my schemes. Should be able to just fix those by hand. But I'm too afraid of making a mistake. Get some extra titanium in. Next, we're going to need some bigger silicon. And, spoiler, this is like the only bigger silicon that I place for a long while in this game. I don't know how I got away with that, but eventually I get some teammates who help out. So, thorium next. So we're a bit low on that. And I know I want to go for fortresses pretty darn quick, because in Assimilation, fortresses are very powerful. They're a little bit weaker because there's no phase walls, but you know, who's got time for phase walls anyway? And early game, they're going to be quite strong. But first daggers, just, they're so cheap. And with that dagger build, it's going to need extra power. Extra power always good. Pointifix expanding rapidly, but I think we're close to the same number of hexes right now. And we're successfully using pretty much all of our eco. We have extra silicon. I don't know how, since we just used a whole bunch of it, but we have extra silicon. We do not have extra graphite. And this is a bit of a problem. Bit of a time waster. Okay, finish the graphite first. Make things a little bit easier to finish the rest of this build. It's coming along, but I could have been doing something better with my time. Looks like Pointifix's daggers are here. They're gonna face off with my daggers. We're getting a bit more graphite. That was our limiting factor. As much graphite as we can find. We'll try to place it absolutely perfectly. You might have seen I've been doing the 3 water extractors setup because I think you can get away with that just barely. But there, I don't have the right location for the last graphite. For the last water extractor. It would go between the 2 air blasts, so I don't put it there. Oh, important point, I stole this schematic. You might have seen it very briefly, or if you paused it. Well, Dynamite pointed out in my last video that my fortress build big semi-automatic factory is inefficient. It's got double the amount of graphite that it actually needs. And so I haven't had time to build a new one, and you know, I usually don't build anyone else's schemes, or I try not to. I mean, I do build other people's schemes pretty often, but I try to avoid it, especially these kind of like coveted fancy unit factories. But this time, you know, it's Pointifix. I'm gonna just do anything I can. No holds barred, trying to beat him. So, Tree gave me the schematic at some point. No shame in whipping out whatever I can do. And here, pretty sure I can get away with just 2 water extractors placed correctly on 2 lasers and an air blast. And maybe we can finish this big guy. Okay, Pointifix has already made a fort in the most inconvenient location, right next to my production facilities. That's a big problem because he's gonna bring his army there, and then if he takes those out, that was, you know, 99% of all my unit production. So immediately I'm like, oh, things are looking very dicey. Would have been nice to have that graphite a little bit earlier too, but yeah. And I saw wraiths, so I was thinking, okay, what can I possibly do to stop wraiths, because I don't have any anti-air defenses right now. And I was thinking about putting an air blast on that lead and lining it with scatters, but instead I'm gonna do some more cheeky tactics. Like I said, Pointifix, I'll do anything I can. So let's lure his wraiths into that metaglass cyclone fort we just built. And then I tried a different idea. This is not a great idea. I want to move my units go straight into his hex. I wanted to move them behind the fort because I saw that the back of it's open. But that's still not a great idea because Pointifix has a bunch of units back there. Then again, looks like pretty much all of Pointifix's units right now are daggers. And that's not a big problem for me. Fortresses will eat daggers alive. And there they go. Now we'll attack and try that strategy of sneaking behind. And here, this hex has 0 defenses, but it has lots of daggers. And they are getting a bunch more daggers just got produced because they all died. So that's not a great point to keep the guys, and power's dead. So a myriad of early problems that I feel like I should have died right about now in this game, but Pointifix went off back home to work on his eco. Make sure he's not slacking too far off, and that was enough power, should be okay. That thing's gonna pump out fortresses. Brilliant scheme by Kaiku. Without that, definitely would have lost. I could have placed it in a much safer location. Would have been wise, but ultimately having the production close to the front line is kind of nice, because my units don't have to walk very far to attack Pointifix's. When his attack fails, or when when a wave is killed off, because it's not exactly a failure if it takes out some stuff, but his waves die, and then well, we'll get to it when we get to it. Why would they split like that? That's a horrible split when I told them to go to that command center, but I'm just like, whatever, we'll just send them in. Pointifix still has only daggers at this point, and wraiths. Wraiths are super weak. Any metaglass cyclone's gonna just chew them up, so they're no issue. Daggers, fire will also take them out. Alright, so you see the power of the fortresses. Even with that poorly designed attack, they were still able to take out one cyclone there. And I also have his forward base surrounded here with my own forts, so if he attacks, his units are all gonna go in every direction. So he's moving his units. You can see the little green dot at the far right. He's gonna change up tactics, which is a great plan to attack this completely undefended hex. I use my 1-1. This is my old fort from FFA, but it's conveniently spaced out to be used as a sort of point defense. Not really sure why I went for the attack there. you know, why I sent my units in to attack. Probably wasn't a great decision. Oh, and it was on Metaglass and I changed it off Metaglass. Okay, well, the unloader's working now, and that setup's gonna do something for us to help out. That power's gonna die though. That's very vulnerable. Gonna get chewed alive. The units are gonna help out tremendously though, and the power is kind of a wall, so. Also, he had a little bit of extra power, thankfully. Now I want to go on the offensive, but I realized that power got taken out. Let's replace it ASAP. Because we weren't out of power when I built it, but I knew that we were almost out of power. So if I built anything else, we would be out of power. And at this point, I'm still solo. I mean, I've assimilated some teams, but it doesn't look like anyone actually joined me. They all quit after joining. So no worries about team using up my resources, that is. Probably should have gone for fortresses, or wraiths, or revenants. Well, not wraiths. Revenants or fortresses would have been a better choice right now, but daggers are decent. They're good defensive units. I got no idea how my defenses are holding here. I have a lot of miracles in my games. But those arcs, well, it would really suck to lose this hex right now. But no idea what's keeping me alive. Ah, it's the units. Okay, so that was a clutch decision there. If the units hadn't started, if I hadn't made them attack right then, look at that, they swallowed up those enemies. If I hadn't made them attack right then, that hex would have died, would have lost that power, would have lost the connection between my hexes. Would have been very bad. Very bad. But you can see that was a big attack by Pointifix. He sent in like basically all of his units. And look at that, there's almost no units now in that hex because they've all been sent in. He kind of, you know, spent them all. So my reinforcements are right there. They're happening instantly. And I'm never really short on units. That's a slight disadvantage of being the one that's aggressive. And I want to put out that fire. I should really make a little scheme for that, a little wave scheme, because I don't have the wave hotkey. And it takes a while for units to move, so I think I could have attacked that fort and probably killed it at this point, but I have a better idea. Let's cut off the power to the fort and then kill it, because Pointifix is also kind of overextended here by building the forts way out next to me. It's great if it works. I do it to other people a lot. But if you don't manage to, well, if you don't cap all the hexes in between, then I can just do this, build a fort inside, blocking your power line. And I'm gonna do a little impromptu. I didn't really have a plan for this fort. I was just like, I need something quick, I need something strong, kind of. So this is not great fort design, but we'll improvise. We got some menders in there, we got cyclones, we got a couple of fuses, and added the overdriver for extra effect. Looks like the units are already lagging. That's when they kind of wake out like that. They kind of just spam everywhere. And we're gonna do some long distance moving. So, he attacked that fort. How good is it? Good. Very glad that he decided to rally. That fort would have died, I think. 90% sure at least. I wanna attack, and then I realized, let's not attack. Should have deleted that command center because that's a bit of a problem later, but no issue for now. And I think Pointifix has forgotten that he has another command center still up. Further back. Because if you saw, just for a moment, there's he's got two command centers. Whoop. And, this turns into a very crucial moment. He has no defenses over there, and his units go the wrong direction. So yeah, maybe it's a ghost CC, like that's what I call it, some of the guys call it, where there's a CC they don't that they're going to that's not in the right place. But the command centers start to work later, so I don't know. They are going to take out my defensive hex, but that was not nearly as valuable as his juicy eco hexes in the back there. So that game-winning move, I'd say, right there. I'm not really paying attention to it or looking at it, but my units are chewing through where I just released them. And we're gonna try to do a little arc trap for those guys. Not really sure where they're going. Oh, this I really needed to fly over there and seal the deal. If I'd flown over and used the command center to redirect those units into the proper hexes, they instead turn around and go for his forts, which wastes my little inroad there. It did a lot of work. It killed a bunch of stuff, but you can probably see by the video length that the video is not over yet. We haven't quite defeated Pointifix. He lives on, and while I killed a lot of probably critical eco, looks like all of his fortress factories survived, so no bueno. For sure. But we haven't lost anything critical yet. I don't know how, miracle for sure. But now I just want to seal the game. I'm like, okay, we've done the deed. We've struck a very dangerous blow to Pointifix. Should be just cleaning up from this point on. But I'm letting my units just go wherever they want, which is not great in these couple of moments. I had a couple of moments in order to seal things off. Actually, at this point, Pointifix has like 3 teammates, and I have none. So, I don't know. But that's probably hurting him more than helping right now. In terms of, I'm guessing that they're, well, I mean, they're doing something. That's a Pointifix CC. That needs to die. No, that's not a great placement of my force. In the, yeah, he took that hex. I could have played that one better. Some Drox to capture it would have been much more effective. 9k power, sitting pretty. I haven't done any eco for like the last 10 minutes. It's all on the strength of these self-producing forts, but I haven't been building very much. Both of us are just microing. Building defenses. Oh, juicy. He's got no plastic. No silicon, he's out of resources. That's where the team kills ya. Team uses up all your stuff. They don't use up the units though, that's why he's got self-producing factories. I do the same thing. Self-producing factories. The only reason I'm using those instead of pulling from the core, or at least the main reason in Assimilation, is so that the team, when we get a team, can use all the resources without fear of cutting off all unit production. Those big-ass fortresses keep rolling through, though. They are doing a little dance as well. Alright, made that command center. I want to protect it from the wraiths flying around. Also, it looks like Pointifix made a CC way at the top, the back of my base, which is an old tactic from FFA, which here, I don't mind at all, actually, because I want him to run all the way through my base. I don't, like, you know, that's fine with me. I got plenty of defenses. We can set up traps for that. Arcs are going to do great against that, and they're not paying attention to killing my cores, which would be much more brutal. As long as we can stop them from getting into the back. And you see there, those units are clumped up, but there's no CC there anymore. I deleted it, so I'm kind of annoyed by that. And so we'll just tell them to attack. Look at those guys, they were all stuck there too. I don't know what they were doing, so CC really having some problems. I need a stronger fort. Alright, so this I think is the first time I put this fort on a video. Pretty newly designed. Chunky fort, and that's not the last you'll see of it in this. So that's coming. Alright, I said that I didn't mind the CC being on the opposite side, but hello, they're coming all the way through. That's not good. But since they're going for that CC, I think that means they're not targeting the core. At least, why are they not targeting the core there? You see that little bit of green database 15 just flew past it? That's where the CC for Pointifix is, I'm assuming. That's what I've been assuming. I knew it was there when I was playing. I didn't want to destroy it. They did shoot through that whole dagger factory though, so that's not the greatest. Power looks like it's dead, but that's just because it's disconnected. Power's fine. The power of not having teammates in this scenario. Okay, now I've got... Wait, are those my teammates? Why is Pointifix over there in my base? I thought that was my stuff. It's not. Oh, Pointifix has put the CC even further back behind the base. So, again, that's fine. That just means they have to run past all my defenses. Oh, I misclicked there. I don't know. Got stuck on the W. Really annoying. I'm trying to move fast and I'm misspelling stuff. Because I'm like, oh gosh, these fortresses are coming right on through. But yeah, I don't think it's a good tactic because those guys could have been killing a bunch of hexes. And instead they're shooting stuff, but not doing too much damage. I've been ignoring this light green guy, but I noticed that could be a problem. There's some daggers coming out of there. Oh, quite a few daggers coming out of there, in fact. Enough daggers that they killed off Pointifix's fort, which is actually really nice for me. And this is, I don't know, holding? Oof. It's taking some hits, but also that's again where the frontline production is really nice. I think his units are going to his CC right now. They're not going to that, you know, if there was a quote-unquote ghost CC, then they would go to that CC when you rally them. But instead they're going up to the north. So he could have rallied those guys, and I think that would have been a stronger attack. Okay, he just hit attack. Saw the units turn away from their endless path and go for the hexes instead, for the cores instead. Maybe he rallied again. Looks like they're back on the path. But, you know, that dagger factory hasn't been working for a while, so not a big deal. In fact, I'm not even sure what's working right now. What unit factory? I mean, my big fortress factories are working. I should say Kaiku's big fortress factories. Again, praise be this guy's working, and working pretty fast. Alright, so now he's CC'd. He's gathering up over there in kind of the middle left. Gonna put down a chunky fort again. Now we're defending against light green. See if we can do a better job than Pointifix's fort. But we're not facing a large push, large rallied attack right now, so not so much of an issue. Let's see if we can finally get this really annoying fort out of our base. Right out of our face, I should say. And it looks like it's going to go down. Yep. Alright, some little bees. Some wraiths. Alright, that was very unsuccessful. And Pointifix's units are coming in. Are they gonna take out, looks like they're gonna, up in the top left, they were gonna take out some defensive hexes. I didn't really want my units to go straight in like that. That's kind of a misplay, but it's fine. And we just cleared this hex from Pointifix. Would love to be able to secure it. Doesn't look like we're gonna be able to. But fortunately, the fortresses have chosen a familiar path. So you can see up in the top right where Pointifix CC is, that the units are trying to get to. It's actually in one of my hexes, just under add skill. But like I said, that's fine. Hopefully we can get a little arc corridor going. I keep having to replace it though, so it's not really working all that well. And look at this. I think, you know, Pointifix has more units than us. We just have this merry little band of like, what, 6 fortresses and a handful of daggers. But Pointifix has been on the attack the whole game. He doesn't have to defend himself. So we're gonna waltz in with that tiny group and do a little bit of damage. Finally gonna get around to some power. Cannot even tell what the power is doing right now though, if it's positive or negative. I was over it for a second and it was like, said negative 2,000, then it said positive 5,000. Yeah, at this point in the game. If it's not negative like 20,000, then I can't tell. Bounces around. Man, I really struggled to finish off Pointifix though here. I should have been, you know, like I said, adding a bunch more factories in the back to seal the deal, finish things off. I could have, probably. But like I said, I do have pretty low eco. I've really not been doing any eco, I've just been focusing on defense. Let's try to place that chunk in the right spot. We are gradually moving closer to Pointifix's stuff though. And surprise! That wasn't me who made those revs, that's that other guy. Clutch play. Love that. So yeah, I've got decent teammates, but we'll go take a look at that hex a little bit later. It's a fun one. And what are we out of? Titanium. Now begins the great titanium scarcity. Yeah, there's no defenses in that hex, so it is not going to hold. But thankfully, guess what else has no defenses? This hex. Also on the left, caught it for a brief moment. That's one of my forts, you know. But again, we'll take a closer look at that a bit later. I doubt that Pointifix placed that down. I'm sure it was just someone else. And, oh, again, my meager band of units is able to take out another critical hex of eco. But my eco is quite lacking, as you can see. Been passing by that titanium that's not hooked up for quite some time. Could have hooked it up a long time ago. And yeah, I've noticed there's no titanium. I call the code red. Stop everyone else from doing whatever they're doing. Looks like the guy here was working on silicon very inefficiently, just haphazard. So, yeah, you know, that's fine. At least it's something. And that should help titanium. And we have some moments of peace. Pointifix has let off the pressure here, which makes me want to attack and kind of waste another defensive attack here. Oh, an insta-build, my favorite. That lack of titanium is going to be a bit of a problem, though. Try to make sure the command center doesn't get taken out. Actually convenient that I have the code red a few moments before the insta-build, because that means we're saving up a bunch of resources. And insta-build, oh no, it hasn't begun yet. Core is always under attack. It's probably the core that I just placed. Yeah, that's the one that died. Build some pretty light defenses there. Now the insta-build is on. I wish those units, they can never quite get to that hex. If we destroyed it, that would cut off all that fortress production for a while. But his units keep shooting us. That's why I can't just let them waltz in. Very sad. And I realized we got, what, 28k silicon? Showed it for a second there. We can actually place down a bunch of stuff during insta-build. I should have just spammed down a bunch of factories like I did in my last video when we had the insta-build. But at least I'm going to insta-build defenses. If I can place them correctly. No good. I decided to just roll with it. It's close enough. And we'll have to fix it by hand. Overflows won't feed into each other if they're right next to each other, so set it up by hand. You can see the Pointifix's fortresses have decided on a new place to gather. I think it's a little bit better to gather up units before you set the CC out there in the wild. And you can see he had a lot of trouble finishing that CC. The main C's got barely any resources. So maybe it wasn't the best time for an insta-build. Maybe he wanted to finish it faster. I was hoping that I would kill him. I just noticed how fast that fort went down. I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. We're going to build a bunch of those. Finally secure our flank so that we don't have to deal with the constant influx of units into the sensitive parts of the base. Yeah, 10 teammates, but during an insta-build event, I don't know if you want that many teammates. Still struggling on titanium quite a bit, but we had no reserve of titanium, whereas we had a big reserve of silicon. I finally go back to building units. Don't know why I chose wraiths first, but we haven't really had much of an air presence. Revenants would be a better choice, definitely. And I think I forgot to water cool those air blasts, so not great. That wraith is going to be working a bit slow. But, you know, a couple mistakes here and there in a long game we'll add some power, make sure this all runs. Could have placed those a little bit better too, but at least they have water this time. If you ever see a drill that doesn't have water on your team, add the water, please. And do we still have insta-build? Yes, that's still an insta-build. It's not over yet. And now we've got great comprehensive defense set up. Just moments ago that hex was pretty much empty right below us. It had like no defenses. Now look at it. Insta-build. So it helped him a little bit, yeah. Let's plug that one back in. Not really sure why I'm supplementing with arcs here. Also, man, I should have been building unit factories during this. It's still insta-build. Okay, insta-build's over. But, you know, maybe I just wanted to keep playing for another 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It is definitely tough to close out Pointifix. Also, I still think that fortress, or that hex with all the electric defenses should have gone down quicker. This arcs and lancers, so will be, and walls and menders, of course. That's what's keeping it alive. Revs are going to do great things for us. I already missed that insta-build event. Didn't finish that one. Not good. And the units are going to flood in there and destroy it. Not good at all. It's a real problem is I didn't finish the front of it, and they were able to push through the nose. Not sure why, again, that I'm building arcs there, but oh well. And you might say, hey, you've got another GM on your team, Monkster. But, I don't know, Monkster doesn't do a whole lot to help the cause there. It's just kind of sitting around on top of that fort, flying around to other parts of the forts and talking to us, which is not a problem. I don't mind. I kind of like to have a somewhat pure 1v1. It's definitely not a 1v1 versus Pointifix because we both have teams, and it seemed like my team was doing some excellent things for us. But, oh, look at those little copper forts. Those are pretty bad, I gotta say. Oh yeah, power, just like I said, I can never tell. It was negative for a second, then it was way positive. Who knows? It was good enough. But yeah, those copper forts with scatters and duos. What is he even feeding the scatters and duos? Like, they don't really take much of the same ammo. Maybe they... Did they take any of the same ammo? I don't know. Haven't looked into that myself. Oh man, we've got a couple of unit we've got like 3 big fortress factories and 3 big dagger factories. and still are having a lot of trouble massing enough to push in. I mean, games on Assimilation when they get to this point do get pretty stalematey because defenses are really strong, and that's why Recessive added the feature that units get 20% more attack every 30 minutes to break these stalemates. But at least the walls are not like super thick walls, and Pointifix is still trying to fight back his units. And still is able to mass quite a few units. So yeah, that was my bad not building more units. And relying on other people's amazing unit schemes. Got to praise Kaiku again for that. I will be building my own though, as soon as I get around to it, probably after this video. I'm not sure if I said that already. Was kind of hoping Monkster would help a bit there, but the fort held, amazingly. Kaiku had quite a few units. I don't know if the units split, I wasn't really paying attention. If they split to all 3 forts, then it's no surprise that they all died. But look at that, it held without a scratch on it. I came over to fix it, but it was fine. Oh yeah, we get a brief moment to see this rev hex. It's full of solar panels. I've never seen that. That many solar panels. Also, that's my fort. You can tell kind of by the distinctive bridge conduit with the cyclones in the top of the fort. I don't think anyone else quite has the same pattern there. And then that's a version I very rarely use, but I've used in a couple of games recently, so I'm guessing somebody just grabbed it. It's a nice, very strong. It's probably it's the strongest version of my Cyclone Metaglass forts that I have. But honestly, I saw that a long time ago on the minimap as a big chunk, and we flew past it earlier and it wasn't finished, so I'm pretty sure that somebody used up all of Pontifix's plastic on that thing much earlier in the game, like 20 minutes ago. So unfortunate for Pointifix, really. That fort's a very late game fort that you don't need. And also that particular hex was not really vulnerable. I mean, it does stop me from making an end around over there, but it was right next to a pretty vulnerable hex that I've been able to push into twice, so. And there, I've got a big army going against electric defenses, and it just gets chewed up. That whole army disappeared versus arcs and lancers. I think people are underrating arcs and lancers against fortresses. Yeah, to the left. What happened to that army? There's a couple cyclones in the back, and there's lots of walls and menders, so that's what helps it, I guess. I'm also not sure how we managed to keep enough plastic. I've checked the plastic a few times, and I think we're always hovering around like 1K or even just a couple hundred. So we might be relying on my first initial plastic build, but I'm kind of hoping someone else made plastic at some point. I know that I did not, so. Pointifix getting chased away by a wraith, love to see it, but not before he's able to interrupt my fortress building. Pretty annoying. Also, you notice, I think I've talked about this before, but I always start my forts with this little 3 cyclone setup, and then everything else builds off of that. Also, I thought those were my forts right there, not his, so that was a problem. But anyway, that makes it so that I can get an initial defense set up, and then I place my other guys on top of it. And I have a bunch of different versions that can go on top of it. But that means that I complete those 3 cyclones first, and they'll kill any kind of random units that have already started to wander in, or if someone attacks immediately with a small force, then that can take care of the small force before they can rally and send a giant force in. If you just go ahead and build the really big fort initially, then oftentimes it won't have any turrets firing right away, and that's a big problem. So, can we ever close out this game? Well, one reason we're having so much trouble closing out this game is because all the units are over here. We actually do have a lot more units. They've just been hanging out, chilling here. I didn't realize. Let's go ahead and absolutely destroy light green here while we can. Oh, love it when a whole hex pops. I like that feature of Assimilation. To take out a hex and everything inside it just instantly explodes. I don't even know what was in there. That looks like giant power from the outline. Something like that, but oh man, I got a big horde. I think someone's been supplementing with additional daggers in the back. Good team, good teamwork. Everyone wants to take down Pointifix, right? You love to see it. Although I guess it's when the guy who's in second is taking him down, it's not as not quite as exciting because you're not like major underdog, but amongst some of us, like the Discord people, we all talk about Pointifix as the definitely most unbeatable player in Assimilation or FFA. He's really deadly in the early game, especially. If you're right next to him, it just goes all out on preventing you from expanding. Likes to wall in the hexes. And so he's using water coolers in his forts. That's a nice tactic. Gives you 1.4 times faster shooting. But with us being able to finally secure more territory with that hex, and we've got enough players on my team now that we can pretty quickly take over any new territory that pops up. That should, at last, seal the deal against Pointifix. I just have to mass units. And finally, we also have comprehensive defense all across the board. We've got those big chunky forts that we've seen manage to shockingly hold. I could have built even bigger forts, but it's very expensive. And I never really got around to tons of eco in this game. Praise to Kaiku yet again for this huge fortress setup. It was the game winner, I gotta say. MVP. And that early move where I took out a bunch of Pointifix's eco. If only I capitalized on that moment. Could have been a different game. Now Pointifix still has scary amounts of fortresses. He's just going all fortress army. I'm running my units past just a screen to absorb some of the damage and to kill what they can, so the fort doesn't have to take the full brunt of it. Alright, that looks like a pretty big army, right? Pretty big? It's not. It's not enough, sadly. This setup hasn't quite started producing, so... Now I want to build another one. I should have just deleted some power there and built the other one there, but it fits here. It's fine if you cut off some factories. That attack failed, sadly. I want to CC again, so we can stop wasting. All these forts already look pretty tough. I mean, they're not massive, but that one especially has got so many electric defenses. This one's a little bit weaker. At least it doesn't have all those lancers. And the menders actually are kind of poorly placed in that one. They're all in the back. Good, because they won't take the damage, but I don't think they can extend all the way to the outer walls. So, slight issue with those managers. with those, what am I saying? Menders. Long game. You just saw the units now do 20% damage. That's the second time. That makes the 1 hour mark. So units are now doing 40% more damage. It's a lot of damage. And that probably is what tips the balance here. Whoever's on the offensive at this point is going to be winning. And that's hopefully going to be me. We can get this big thing done. Really considering mixing phantom builders into my repertoire, although they're so annoying when there's a fortress has been, like a fort has been lost and recaptured and lost and recaptured again, but they would be helpful in finishing those giant factories. Okay, this looks like a lot of units, right? I think it's more units than last time. It's a horde of units. It's like a singularity, is what they like to say, of units. They split up, super annoying. I don't know why they would split up and not even go to the same hex. Like, where are those other guys going in the north? But whatever. And they were like walking away from the fort. Oh man. I don't know how they killed that. They looked like they were all gonna die. That one did not make sense. And they killed that one too, finally. Again, I think it's lag. Lag messes with turrets more than units. Although, there is the 40% damage buff to units, so that's... might have a factor in it as well. So lag plus unit damage bonus finally breaks Pointifix after an hour. And I think power goes out. I'm not sure if that's disconnected somewhere, but I think power went out. But it does not matter. I don't even know where the main hex was that just died. But yeah, GG. Thanks for watching, guys. That was a great game. Great, wild one. That's the only time I've beaten Pointifix in Assimilation so far. I don't... it's definitely a rarity, so appreciate you watching. More to come in the future. Thanks, guys.